Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. I never imagined one evening could change everything between us. It started out like any normal night. Dinner was quiet, the lights dimmed low, and the rain outside tapped gently against the windows. My husband, Rohan, was unusually quiet that night. I noticed it, but I didn't say much. We all have off days, right? But what happened when the lights went out? I still can't wrap my head around it. It felt like someone flipped a switch, not just on the power, but on our entire relationship. We've been married for 3 years. Our relationship? Well, like most, it had its ups and downs. Rohan is kind, responsible, and always knows how to make me laugh even on my worst days. But that night, something in him shifted. There was a tension in the air. You know that strange feeling you get when something just doesn't feel right, but you can't quite put your finger on it? That's exactly how it felt. And it only got more intense once the power cut out completely. At first, we laughed. It seemed innocent, just a sudden power outage during a storm. I lit a few candles, and we sat on the floor, talking. Or at least, I was trying to. But Rohan, he wasn't really there with me. His eyes were distant, like his mind was somewhere else. And then, without saying a word, he got up and walked toward the bedroom. I followed him, confused but curious. And what I found next left me stunned. Now, before I go on, I need to say this: I'm not the kind of person who jumps to conclusions. But that night, the things I saw and heard made me question everything I thought I knew about him. What was he hiding? Why did he look so nervous when I walked in? And what exactly was he doing in the dark, all alone, whispering into his phone? I didn't want to believe anything bad. I mean, when you love someone, you try to give them the benefit of the doubt. But sometimes, love can blind you to the truth. And what I discovered that night, let's just say it opened my eyes in a way I wasn't ready for. So here's my question to you: how well do you really know the person you sleep next to every night? Have you ever felt like they're keeping something from you? Leave a comment below, and tell me, what would you do if your partner suddenly started acting strange when the lights went out? I'm also putting up a poll: do you think Rohan was hiding something innocent, or something more serious? Make sure you stick around for the next part of the story, because trust me, it only gets more intense from here. You won't believe what happened after I confronted him. And honestly, I'm still trying to figure out if I made the right choice that night. For now, I'll leave it there. But ask yourself, what would you have done in my place? I stood there in the doorway, watching Rohan with a lump forming in my throat. He didn't notice me at first. He was hunched over, whispering into his phone with the light from the hallway barely reaching his face. His back was tense, like he was trying hard to stay calm, or maybe to hide something. I could only make out a few words, nothing clear, but the tone in his voice wasn't something I'd heard before. It wasn't casual. It wasn't work. It was low, serious, secretive. He finally looked up and saw me. He flinched. That's what really shook me. Rohan never got startled like that. It was like I had caught him doing something wrong, and for a second, he didn't even say anything. Just stared at me like I had stepped into the middle of a scene I wasn't supposed to see. "Who were you talking to?" I asked, trying to sound casual, but my voice cracked a little. He quickly put his phone down and forced a smile. "Just checking on the power situation," he said. His tone was calm, maybe too calm. My heart was pounding. Maybe it was nothing. But deep down, it didn't feel like nothing. We went back to the living room in silence. I pretended to scroll through my phone, but I couldn't focus. My mind was racing. Why did he look so guilty? Why was he whispering? And who would he be talking to about the power in that tone, at that time of night? Something didn't add up. The storm outside had gotten heavier, and the thunder was rumbling closer now. The lights still hadn't come back. It felt like the darkness had settled into our home in more ways than one. I tried to remember if there had been signs before this. Moments I'd brushed off. Lately, he had been spending more time on his phone. More late nights at work. Less talking. Less touching. I kept telling myself it was just stress. Life happens. People get busy. But now, I wasn't so sure. After a while, he sat next to me and tried to act normal, asking if I wanted some tea. I nodded, just watching him walk to the kitchen. Even the way he moved felt unfamiliar. Was I just being paranoid? Or was my gut trying to tell me something I didn't want to hear? He brought the tea, and we sat quietly for a long time. The candle between us flickered, casting strange shadows on the walls. It almost felt like we were strangers sitting in a familiar space. I kept replaying that moment in the bedroom, the way he looked, the way he spoke. And most of all, the look in his eyes when he realized I had seen him. That's when I decided I needed to find out the truth. I didn't know what it was yet, but I could feel it. Something was hiding beneath the surface, and I couldn't pretend anymore. Have you ever had that moment when everything feels normal on the outside, but inside, you just know something is wrong? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let me know what would you do if you were in my place. The next part of this story might shock you even more. Don't miss it. What I discovered next made me question everything I believed. That whispering. That flinch. I thought about checking his phone, just to calm my own mind. But I didn't want to be that person. I've always believed that trust is the foundation of any relationship. If you start spying or digging, it usually means something's already broken. But wasn't it already breaking? The conflict wasn't just between me and Rohan, it was inside me. Part of me wanted to believe him, to let it go and pretend everything was fine. But another part of me was screaming not to ignore the signs. I started noticing more things that week. He started coming home later. His phone was always on silent now. And once, I caught him erasing a message the second I walked into the room. When I asked who it was, he smiled and said, "Just a friend from work." But his eyes told a different story. Then there was this one day I went to visit his office to surprise him with lunch. That's something I've done before, and he always loved it. But this time, he wasn't there. His colleague looked confused when I asked. "Rohan left early today. Didn't he tell you?" he said casually. I smiled and nodded like it was no big deal, but my hands were trembling. Where was he if not at work? That night, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I asked him directly, "Rohan, is there something going on you're not telling me?" He laughed it off, pulled me into a hug, and said, "You're overthinking everything." But the hug didn't feel warm. It felt like a distraction. Now I'm stuck between not wanting to believe the worst and not wanting to be fooled. Could he really be hiding something this serious? Or am I just reading too much into small things? What do you think is happening here? Could Rohan just be under stress? Or is he leading a double life I know nothing about? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I really want to hear what you think. And if you were in my shoes, would you confront him again, or wait to gather more proof? The next part of this story will leave you even more shocked. Something happened that completely changed my understanding of who Rohan really is. You won't want to miss it. Over the next few days, everything in our house felt different. Even when Rohan and I were in the same room, it was like we were living in separate worlds. He was still doing all the usual things, making breakfast, going to work, checking in on me with texts, but it all felt scripted, like he was playing a role instead of being himself. And I couldn't stop wondering, what was real and what was just for show? I started paying closer attention. The times he left the room to take calls. The way he always angled his phone screen away from me. The sudden drop in conversations. The way he avoided certain topics, and most of all, the way he never mentioned that night. Not once did he bring up the power outage, the call I overheard, or the look on his face when I caught him. It was like he was trying to erase it from both our memories. One evening, I waited until he was in the shower. I told myself I wasn't going to do it, but my hands moved on their own. I picked up his phone. It was locked, of course. He'd changed the password a few weeks ago, said it was because of some banking security thing. Back then, I didn't think anything of it. Now, it felt like a wall he'd quietly built between us. The tension was becoming unbearable. I needed answers. I needed something to explain what was going on. I reached out to a close friend of mine, Nina. She'd known both of us since college and had always been honest with me, even when the truth was hard to hear. I didn't tell her everything. Just enough. I mentioned how distant Rohan had become, how things didn't feel right lately. She was quiet for a second, then asked, "Are you sure it's just distance, or is there something else going on?" That question hit harder than I expected. Later that week, something strange happened. I was folding laundry when a small note fell out from one of Rohan's jacket pockets. It wasn't much. Just a scribbled name and a phone number. But the handwriting wasn't his. I stared at it for minutes, wondering who it belonged to. Was it a client? A friend? Or someone else? That night, I left the note on the table where he couldn't miss it. I didn't say anything. I just watched him when he saw it. His whole face changed, like the blood drained from it. He looked at me, tried to smile, then quietly asked, "Where did you find this?" Something about the way he said it made my heart drop. There was no joke, no lightness in his voice. Just a serious, almost panicked tone. I asked him whose number it was, and he paused, too long. And right then, I knew. Whatever he was hiding, it wasn't small. What do you think the note means? Who do you think wrote it, and why would Rohan keep it hidden? Drop your guesses in the comments, and tell me what you would do next. Would you press him for the truth now, or wait and see how he explains it? Because what happened next was nothing I ever expected. Rohan didn't answer me right away. He just stared at the note on the table like it was something poisonous. His jaw tightened, and his fingers curled into a fist without him even realizing. "It's not what you think," he finally said, his voice low, almost defeated. That sentence, so vague, so familiar, only made things worse. My chest tightened as I asked again, more firmly this time, "Who gave you this number, Rohan? And why was it hidden in your pocket?" He sat down, rubbing his forehead like he was trying to piece together a story in his mind before speaking it out loud. "It's just complicated," he muttered. "Please trust me." But after everything, how could I? The number, the secrecy, the call in the dark, none of it was adding up. And now, instead of answers, I was getting more dodging. I picked up the note again and looked at it. A woman's handwriting. Not just random scribbles, either neat, confident, familiar somehow. My stomach turned. Just when I thought things couldn't get more tangled, I got a message that made my hands go cold. It was from an unknown number. All it said was, "You don't know everything about him. Be careful." No name. No context. Just those chilling words. I stared at the screen, my heart racing. Who would send that? Was it connected to the number in the note? Or something else entirely? That's when I remembered something strange from a few months ago. A call Rohan received late at night that he brushed off as a wrong number. At the time, I didn't think much of it. But now, every unexplained call, every vague excuse, every late night suddenly felt like a puzzle piece. And for the first time, I started wondering if this wasn't just about another woman or if it even was about that at all. What if there was something else he was hiding? Something bigger? The next morning, I took a chance. I called the number from the note. My hands were shaking. It rang twice, then someone picked up. A woman's voice. Calm. Too calm. "Hello," she said. I stayed silent for a second before asking, "Hi, do you know Rohan?" There was a pause. Then she answered, "Yes, and I've been waiting for this call." That one sentence sent a chill down my spine. She didn't say anything else, just asked to meet. Somewhere public. She said she couldn't explain it all on the phone and that there were things I needed to know, things Rohan would never tell me himself. Now I was standing at a crossroad. Meet this woman and open the door to whatever secrets had been buried for who knows how long, or ignore it all and keep living with the unknown. What would you do in my place? Would you go meet her? Or would you confront Rohan again and demand the full truth? Let me know in the comments. I need to know I'm not the only one who'd feel this torn. Trust me, what happens at that meeting? It's something I never could have imagined. I decided to meet her. My heart was pounding as I walked into the quiet cafe she had chosen. It was small, tucked into a corner of the city I didn't usually visit. She was already there, sitting by the window, her face calm but serious. She looked like she had something heavy on her chest, something she had carried for a while. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. I nodded, still unsure what I was walking into. "I'm Anya," she added. I know Rohan, but not in the way you think. The next few minutes changed everything. Anya wasn't someone he was cheating with. She was his half-sister. From a second family Rohan never told me about. Her mother had been involved with Rohan's father before he met Rohan's mom, and for years, their family had stayed hidden. Rohan had found out only a year ago. At first, he didn't believe it. But after a DNA test, there was no denying it. He had a sister. A whole other part of his life he never expected. And he didn't tell me. He didn't know how to explain it to you, Anya said. He didn't want to bring chaos into your life. He thought he could handle it quietly. I sat there in shock. I had built up so many theories in my head: another woman, an affair, even a secret double life. But not this. Not a hidden sibling. Not this kind of emotional storm. He didn't mean to lie, she added. He's just scared. We both are. It made sense, in a strange, heartbreaking way. The whispers, the late-night calls, the sudden silences. He was trying to build a connection with someone he never knew existed, while trying to protect the life he already had. And in doing that, he pushed me away without realizing it. I left the cafe with more answers than I expected, but also more questions. When I got home, Rohan was waiting for me. He looked like he hadn't slept. I didn't even say anything, just handed him the note. I met her, I said. You should have told me, Rohan. Tears filled his eyes. I was going to. I just didn't know how. We sat for hours, talking about everything. About his father, the truth he uncovered, and how much guilt he carried. The way he isolated himself wasn't because of mistrust, it was fear. Fear of breaking our relationship, fear of what I would think, and fear of losing the one good thing in his life. That night, for the first time in weeks, we actually connected. The wall between us started to crack. But just as I thought we were healing, I saw something on his phone that stopped me cold. A text from Anya. She doesn't know everything. Not yet. I stared at the screen, feeling the chill crawl back into my chest. What else didn't I know? Let me know in the comments, what do you think she meant? Should I ask Rohan again, or has he still been hiding something? Because just when I thought the truth was out, another secret was waiting. The message from Anya haunted me. She doesn't know everything. Not yet. I didn't confront Rohan right away. Instead, I watched him, how he moved around me, how he avoided eye contact when I mentioned her again, how his voice cracked when he said, "There's nothing else." But I could tell. Something was still sitting between us, and this time, I wasn't going to let it go. So, I met Anya again. She was waiting for me at the same cafe. I didn't even order anything. Tell me, I said. All of it. She hesitated. Then she finally admitted the part Rohan hadn't told me. When he found out about Anya, he also learned something else. His father had left behind a small fortune. Not just money, but assets, land, and a trust fund tied up in legal confusion between both families. Rohan had been secretly handling it, trying to get Anya what she was owed, while also trying to make sure it didn't look like he was hiding wealth from me. He was terrified it would come across as greed, or worse, betrayal. So while I was at home feeling like I was losing my husband, he was deep in lawyers, documents, and meetings, juggling a hidden family legacy he never asked for. It wasn't another woman. It wasn't lies about love. It was something even more complicated: family, responsibility, and unspoken guilt. When I came home, I sat Rohan down and told him I knew everything now. He broke down. I just wanted to protect you, he said. I didn't know how to explain it without making you feel like I was living a double life. And I finally understood. He wasn't perfect. Neither was I. But relationships aren't about perfection. They're about choosing each other even through the messy, complicated, and painful parts. We spent the next few weeks rebuilding. Talking honestly. Laughing again. And yes, I met Anya properly after that. She wasn't the villain I imagined in the beginning. She was just another piece of Rohan's story, one I had to learn to accept if we wanted to move forward. In the end, I learned something powerful. Trust isn't just about telling the truth when it's easy. It's about being brave enough to speak it when it's hard. So, To everyone watching, what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have walked away? Or stayed and faced the truth with an open heart? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like a sequel from Anya's perspective, let me know. I'm seriously considering it. Thank you for watching till the very end.